Chapter 147. Shortly after, they finally arrived at the exhibition center. The exhibition center was a building with a circular dome. The outer circle was filled with shops selling all sorts of different goods from flowers to birds, and the auction house was located at the center. The exhibition center was built last year and it looked absolutely magnificent. Alex followed Faria into the glass elevator as they headed to the 8th floor. As soon as the elevator door opened, an artistic exhibition hall with various antique calligraphy and paintings hung on the walls suddenly appeared in front of them. This was the auction house. The auction table was placed right in front atop a red carpet. There were numerous sofas below the stage, and the tables were filled with wines, beers, and fresh fruits for the enjoyment of the guests. As compared to the last auction, it seemed as though Money House had put in a lot of effort into the auction this time. It had probably cost them more than $2 million to lease and prepare all the decorations for the auction. Faria's seat was in the middle of the front row, and as they were about to move forward, they suddenly heard a huge commotion behind them. Alex turned around, and at this time, he was forced to step aside because there were several people who were trying to squeeze into the auction hall at this time. Alex frowned as he watched the group of people rushing into the auction hall. There were also a few bodyguards leading the way at this time. "Oh, is Mr. Depp already here?" Faria exclaimed as she stared at the crowd of people. In fact, the crowd of people were all distinguished guests who were attending the auction. However, at this time, they were all surrounding a middle-aged man who was wearing a green suit and had a cold and arrogant look on his face. Alex looked at the man before he said, "So, this is the reputable Mr. Depp. He has a pretty good posture." The crowd of people continued leading Gary forward, and at this time, he suddenly wrote a few words on a yellow piece of paper before he handed the talisman over to the man standing next to him. After that, he said in an indifferent manner, "It seems as though we have both been destined to meet today. I am giving you this peace talisman for free today. It will keep you safe, and you and your family will be prosperous in time to come. Thank you, Mr. Depp." The man was very surprised and flattered as he took the peace talisman in his hand. After that, he began carrying the talisman around as though it was a piece of treasure as he kept telling the people around him, "Mr. Depp's peace talisman is really amazing. I've been seeking his services for the past few years, and thanks to his talisman, my business has grown more and more successful." The crowd of people could only look on enviously. At this time, some of the people also cheekily begged Gary to give them a talisman, but he simply ignored them. Gary's assistant snorted as he yelled at the crowd, "Do you really think that just anyone can get Mr. Depp's talisman just because they want it? Don't you know that people are paying at least $300,000 for each peace talisman that they get from Key Venture?" Everyone was silent for a moment before someone suddenly shouted, "It's really rare for Mr. Depp to specifically make a trip to Oris Hill. I will be more than willing to pay $300,000 for a peace talisman. Please give me one, Mr. Depp." "Me too. I want to buy one too. I want a peace talisman from Mr. Depp too. It is very difficult to get a peace talisman from Mr. Depp. $300,000 is nothing. I want 7 pieces of the peace talisman." The crowd of people were very excited, and many of them transferred money over to Gary immediately just to get their hands on one of his peace talisman. "Please stand in line," Gary's assistant instructed as he registered them one by one. It was a very chaotic scene. At this time, Alex could not help but exclaim, "What sort of peace talisman is that? It's so expensive. It really is a good way to make money." He did not speak very loudly, but at this time, Gary suddenly raised his head as he stared at him with his brows knitted together. Gary pushed the crowd of people aside as he walked towards Alex. "My friend, did I hear you having an opinion about my peace talisman?" Alex simply replied in a casual manner, "I simply do not think that any peace talisman in this world should be worth so much money." At this time, someone in the crowd yelled out immediately, "Who do you think you are? What do you know anyway? Mr. Depp is already selling his peace talisman at a low price of only $300,000. Yes, it is only $300,000. That is why everyone is lining up to buy one. You can get the exact same peace talisman for just $5 at the temple. At this time, Gary snorted as he glared at Alex. You can eat rice anytime you want, but you shouldn't be spouting nonsense here. The reason why people speak without thinking is because they are pretending to understand something that is above their understanding. After he was done speaking, Gary curled his lips in disdain as he walked into the auction hall. Alex had an indifferent expression on his face because Gary was not a threat to him at all.